get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you here for the next 2 hours. We roll along till 11 a.m. Eastern. We got some breaking news, usually a rarity on the show this kind of early in the morning to have some big-time news break, but we do. The Denver Broncos have found their new head coach. It is now Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett taking over the reins for Denver. He will be their next head coach. We'll get to that in 15 minutes from now. Is it a good hire? And what does this mean for the Broncos moving forward? We have a lot to get into. Conference championship weekend. We got Chiefs Bengals. We got 49ers Rams. Who is going to win? I will tell you my 2 answers. James Harden's future in question. Could he be traded at the deadline? Well, Adrian Wojnarowski gave some details. We'll let you know what those are. And the possibility of Harden getting moved in a few weeks. The deadline, trade deadline NBA, February 10th. So coming right up coming right around the corner. So we got a lot to get into for the next 2 hours. So let's jump right in. As always, we are coming to you live from where else but the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where there's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Make sure you check out BigItalyPizza.com to find a location near you. It is conference championship weekend in the NFL. So you know what? Let's give you some predictions. Let's give you some previews. I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Bengals and advance to their 3rd straight Super Bowl. I think the Rams are finally kind of exercising their demons and beating the 49ers. So let's start with Chiefs Bengals in the AFC. The reason why I'm going Chiefs is because I think right now the Chiefs are just too hot. They are too hot offensively. I think no team in the NFL is able to keep up with the offensive explosion that right now they are putting on display the last 6 weeks of the season. And really, the last 6 weeks of the season, the Chiefs, for the first time this year, have finally looked like the Chiefs of old. Well, you have Tyreek Hill ripping off big chunks. Unfortunately, the Bills know that firsthand, but he's ripping off massive plays and really being a game changer with big explosive plays. You have Travis Kelce back to being the most unguardable tight end in the NFL. And Patrick Mahomes is just flat out slinging it. Arm angles, tight windows. He is doing it all in. He is looking like the Mahomes that we saw in 2018, 2019, and 2020. As we know, it wasn't always the case, right? For a large part of the season, the Chiefs' offense was struggling. It at times even looked broken. But there's a huge reason why the Chiefs' offense is back on track. It's back to looking like the Chiefs of old. It's because everyone is getting involved on the offense. If we go back to earlier in the season, right, one of the big reasons why I thought the Chiefs offense was struggling to put up points, was struggling to move the ball, and why Patrick Mahomes was struggling with turnovers is because really he and the Chiefs offense became locked in on two guys, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now, those were the only two players that Mahomes was thrown to, the only two players he's really relying on. And finally, after 3 years of domination, after watching 3 years of Hill and Kelce tear up defenses, defensive coordinators and teams started realizing all we got to do is take these two guys away. Now, I say all you got to do, easier said than done. But teams started playing basically prevent defense, not allowing Tyreek Hill to beat them over the top, double covering Travis Kelce over the middle. And then all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes couldn't find anywhere to throw. He was forcing balls. That led to interceptions. He wasn't looking at his third or fourth option, which again prevented the offense moving the ball down the field and really had him bogged down. And they weren't scoring as many points as we thought. It took a while for the Chiefs, for Patrick Mahomes, for Andy Reid, for Eric Bieniemy to finally adjust and realize what defenses were doing and how to beat it. But when I say the reason why the Chiefs offense looks like the Chiefs because everyone's getting involved, that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes started dumping the ball off to running backs. He started looking at his third or fourth option like Mecole Hardman, like Byron Pringle. And all of a sudden, getting 10, 12 yards at a time, even 5 or 6 yards at a time, targeting those guys eventually opened it up to where Tyreek Hill would get one-on-one coverage where the Chiefs would want, where Travis Kelce would get one-on-one coverage like the Chiefs would like, and that is when the big plays truly do come. Look at the postseason. Like, they have played 2 games right against the Steelers, and obviously that epic classic game against the Bills last week. Look at some of the players who have put up big-time contributions in the postseason alone. You have Jerick McKinnon, who, honestly, I will be honest, forgot who's in the league. This was a dead man walking in San Francisco, could not stay healthy, could not get on the field. He barely kind of played for the Chiefs this season. All of a sudden, because of an injury to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he comes in and in 2 playoff games combined has over 200 total yards and 2 touchdowns in the postseason. That's a guy that Patrick Mahomes, again, has started targeting when you want to double and triple cover Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Fine. Here's Jerick McKinnon, a handoff. Here's Jerick McKinnon on the screen or a dump off, and he's making big plays. Again, 200 total yards, 2 touchdowns in the playoffs alone. Byron Pringle. Byron Pringle's all of a sudden now a playoff primetime player. 3 total touchdowns in 2 games. You have Mecole Hardman. You have Demarcus Robinson making some big explosive plays in the offense as well. Even Patrick Mahomes himself. We saw it especially on Sunday against the Bills in that AFC divisional round game. He made plays with his legs. If everyone is covered, if there's no opening to throw the ball, he's just tucking it and running. There's no spy on Patrick Mahomes. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen. He's mobile. There's a threat of his legs, but no team is preparing for it. So when you want to drop 8 or 9 guys in a coverage, or if you want to even blitz and you don't get home, Patrick Mahomes is able to make plays with his legs. Even on Sunday, leading rusher for the Chiefs with 69 rushing yards and a touchdown. And honestly, I tweeted this at the time. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but there was at least 12 different times I thought the Bills were going to get a sack on Patrick Mahomes. Whether they blitzed, whether they had great coverage, Mahomes was sitting back there, the pocket was collapsed, and I thought, oh, he's going to go down. And somehow he's able to not only wiggle out of it, but also is able to, for the most part, to pick up positive yards. So his legs now have become a big threat. So when you have guys like McKinnon, like Pringle, like Hardman, like Mahomes making plays, all of a sudden that opens things up for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And as we know, they have both been able to feast so far in the playoffs. Both have over 200 yards receiving. Both each have 2 touchdown receptions in the postseason alone. So again, when you're spreading the ball out, when you're getting everyone involved, defenses now all of a sudden start to become impatient. Then all of a sudden start to take some chances, whether it's blitzing, whether it's covering Mahomes, whether it's covering Hill and Kelce one-on-one. And as we know, especially in crunch time, that is where those two make a killing as the Buffalo Bills. So look at this Chiefs offense. In the 2 postseason games, they have put up 42 points in each game. The last 6 games of the season, including the 2 playoff games, the Chiefs are averaging 37 points per game. The Chiefs offense for me is back. And even though Cincinnati has an extremely explosive offense, we saw it a few weeks ago when they beat the Chiefs straight up, right, on that walk-off field goal to clinch the AFC North and have that great game go back and forth. The Bengals were able to keep up with the Chiefs and obviously outscore them. But with that said, this time around, the reason why I think the Chiefs offense is going to be too much, number one, I think the offensive line for Cincinnati is still, to me, very scary, where they are not giving Joe Burrow still a lot of time. In both playoff games, he's been under siege, and that has led to the offense getting bogged down at times. And also, because that first matchup where you had Jamar Chase make history with the most receiving yards in a single game by a rookie, 266 and 3 touchdowns. Here's a hot take for you. I don't think Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, is going to allow that to happen again. I think he's going to double, even times triple, cover Jamar Chase to prevent an explosion like they saw the last time these 2 teams met in Cincinnati a few weeks ago. So I think Jamar Chase is not going to be able to have an explosive game as he did a few weeks ago. I think the O-line, with Joe Burrow being under siege and getting sacked a few times, I think it's going to ruin a few drives. And right now, there's no real stopping the Chiefs' offense. I will go Chiefs at home, laying the 7 to beat the Bengals and advance to their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Who will they meet? I'm glad you asked. I think they're going to meet the Rams. And here's why. Even though the 49ers have swept the season series from the Rams, they won both games. Even though Kyle Shanahan has now won 6 consecutive games over Sean McVay, I do think Sunday was a defining moment for the Rams and especially, I should say, a defining moment for Matthew Stafford. I think that game against the Buccaneers truly showed us, the fans, the doubters especially, and even Sean McVay and his Rams teammates, that Matthew Stafford absolutely is the guy in the playoffs that can carry a team. So I think so far his postseason stats through 2 games against the Cardinals and the Bucs show you 2 things about Matthew Stafford. Number one, when you desperately need a play, when you need your quarterback to step up and be the difference, I think Matthew Stafford has absolutely showed you he can do that. Again, no better example than that Cooper Kupp throw, the 44-yard completion that saved the Rams bacon, that saved the game, saved their season. Because I do think if that game gets to overtime, the Rams are not winning. The momentum is too much on the Bucs and Tom Brady's side. That game was slipping. Everyone except Matthew Stafford was doing their part to lose the game. Cooper Kupp had a fumble. You had Cam Akers have 2 fumbles. The defense all of a sudden couldn't stop a nosebleed. Collectively, outside of Matthew Stafford, the Rams were doing everything they could to get Tom Brady back in the game and to blow a 27-3 lead. But credit to Matthew Stafford, even on first down with 42 seconds left, Sean McVay decided to call a QB draw. I don't understand. Found Cooper Kupp for 20 yards, Cooper Kupp for 44 yards, game-winning field goal, game over, Rams move on. I think Matthew Stafford in that final drive alone, but even throughout the entire game where he threw for 366 yards and 3 touchdowns, or total 3 touchdowns, he is absolutely the guy you can rely on in the postseason to be a big-time player. But also, I thought, he also showed, especially Sean McVay, he can be trusted in the big moment. And here's what I mean by that. I do think, especially on Sunday, Sean McVay got a little conservative on the offense. You're up 27-3. I get there's a fine line between too aggressive and being too conservative. Like you want to be smart. You want to run clock. You want to limit your mistakes. But also, you don't want to stop playing offense. I think Chris Collinsworth said on the broadcast a few times, if you're the Rams, don't stop playing offense. Basically, don't run into the line 3 times and punt and play conservative. You want to keep the foot on the gas and only increase the deficit for Tom Brady, the Bucs, to kind of take away their hope, right? The more 3 and outs, the more running into the line of scrimmage and just getting off the field playing conservative, the more momentum feeds into Tampa Bay's side. And I thought, again, before that final drive, Sean McVay was a little too conservative at times with Matthew Stafford, not letting him rip, not letting him throw the ball. And I think not only for him to make those 2 big throws to Cooper Kupp with less than a minute left, but also for him to play turnover-free football so far through the first 2 games. I think he has earned the trust of Sean McVay to where now on Sunday, they will not play conservative. Because I thought that's really, especially in the second game, which was the final game of the year against the 49ers, Week 18, I thought that's what happened and why the Rams lost the game. They're up 17-0 right before half. I do think the Rams took the foot off the gas. And they go, all right, we're going to cruise to victory. We got this. And went into halftime up 17-3. Didn't really take the 49ers seriously. When they came out and threw a punch, all of a sudden the Rams were kind of flustered. Matthew Stafford threw a pick. All of a sudden the defense couldn't get many stops. And now, as you know, back and forth. Eventually the 49ers did win in overtime. But I don't think the Rams were ready to play in that game. I do think they became conservative, in part because I don't think Sean McVay fully trusted Matthew Stafford at the time to not make a mistake. I mean, he threw a pick in the 49er game in Week 18 that led to a comeback, but he had 8 interceptions the final 4 games of the regular season. So even though I'm a Matthew Stafford believer, even though I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl before the season and absolutely standing by that, and not surprised Matthew Stafford came up clutch against the Buccaneers, I understand at times your apprehension because Matthew Stafford was very careless with the football. Again, 8 picks in 4 games is not an accident. It's not exactly, a stat that has you feeling great heading to the postseason where one mistake can truly change the game and alter your season and end your season. I get to a point why Sean McVay was a little hesitant in allowing Matthew Stafford maybe to throw the ball with a lead because, again, you're worried about the interception, a pick 6 that could truly change the game. But now I do think, especially Matthew Stafford playing well on Sunday, coming up clutch and being the reason why you won, I think there's going to be no apprehension. There's going to be no conservative play calling come Sunday. I think the Rams from the get-go are going to be full throttle forward, and I think they are going to finally get their revenge on the 49ers. McVay is going to finally overcome the dominance that Kyle Shanahan has over him. I think the Rams are going to the Super Bowl and playing it in their own house. So I think the Rams are beating the 49ers on Sunday. I think the Chiefs are beating the Bengals on Sundays also. So I'm curious your thoughts here. Conference championship weekend is upon us. Who's going to the Super Bowl? Who is your pick to win these games this weekend? Love to hear your thoughts on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. When we do return here, we have some breaking news like I mentioned before. The Broncos have found their new head coach. It is Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Is it a good move? Did the Broncos make the right hire? We will discuss that when we return. It's the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understand that no 2 investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole, or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your flap. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We do have some breaking news in the NFL early on this morning being reported all over. Adam Schefter, Tom Pelissero, all those great NFL insiders were all over it. The Denver Broncos, out of the 9 jobs that are open, are the first to make their hire. They are going with Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Former Packers OC, like I just mentioned, was there for the last 2 or 3 years since 2019, was with the Jaguars as well in 2017 when they went to the AFC title game. So Nathaniel Hackett's been on some successful teams recently. Obviously, he has coached Aaron Rodgers the last 3 seasons, 2 of those most likely being MVP seasons. Is this a good hire for the Broncos? For me, absolutely. Absolutely, I like this hire a lot because obviously it puts them in good position to land Aaron Rodgers. Now, I will say this. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is absolutely not a strategy. So obviously maybe the Broncos have a little more inside knowledge, and maybe Nathaniel Hackett obviously will have a little more of the inside track on Aaron Rodgers' mindset and his future compared to, let's say, people like myself and you. We are just, reading the headlines, trying to read the tea leaves. So in one sense, it's a dangerous gamble to make that basically if you're hiring Nathaniel Hackett with the hopes of Aaron Rodgers coming to Denver, and whether he stays in Green Bay, whether he decides he wants to go elsewhere, obviously, it's a gamble. Then you lose out. And if you're not enthralled with Nathaniel Hackett, then it's like, oh, well, what the hell are you going to do? But I do think the gamble is worth it. Like I said, hope is not a strategy, but I do think this is a gamble worth taking the risk on. Because if you look at the Denver Broncos as an organization, they've had one good quarterback since John Elway. John Elway retired in the late 90s. So we were talking almost in my lifetime. I'm 27 years old. Almost in my entire lifetime, outside of John Elway, the Broncos have had one good quarterback since. and it's been Peyton Manning. So the only other quarterback Denver's been able to find in really over 2 decades, really 25 years, has been Peyton Manning, who, kind of similar to Aaron Rodgers, was a guy with a lot of accomplishments already. His former team, the Colts, cut Peyton because of the neck injury. The Packers might move on from Aaron Rodgers either because he wants to or because of his age and his contract. But either way, it's kind of, I'll say damaged goods, but it is a situation where you are getting an extremely accomplished veteran quarterback to come as a hired gun to try to win a Super Bowl in, let's say, 3 or 4 years. You got a very small window, but again, you're getting a quarterback that's still one of the best in the NFL to do it. And I think that's the right strategy because the Denver Broncos have been unable to find their guy. You know, the the Cleveland Browns, right, have always been a team where people make fun of for their quarterback and lack of being able to find one. We have that famous mannequin, right, that have the list of quarterback names that all been crossed out, and the list goes from the back all the way down to the floor because that's how many quarterbacks the Browns have shuffled through, right, over the last 2 decades. Well, the Broncos, low key, have been kind of the same thing. Again, outside of Peyton Manning, look at who's been quarterback for them: Jay Cutler, Trevor Siemian, Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, Case Keenum, Brock Osweiler. Like, they themselves have Tim Tebow, have ran through a ton of quarterbacks that have all failed and failed relatively quickly. So you look at the quarterback dysfunction in Denver, yeah, go for broke. Go for the guy in Aaron Rodgers, who's not only the most coveted quarterback on the market, but the most talented quarterback on the market right now that's available. Go for it because that's the only blueprint that Denver's been able to do the last 25 years is find quarterbacks that have been exiled for one way or another from their team previously, and you could still get 3 or 4 good years out of them. So I like the Broncos kind of going for broke here and taking their chances, taking their swing in landing Aaron Rodgers, because you look at this team, the way they're constructed, the way they're built, they are a quarterback away from legitimate Super Bowl contention. I get the AFC West is really building up to be one of the toughest divisions in football. I would say the NFC West right now is the toughest, but I would say the AFC West is the second toughest. I put it ahead of the North. I put it ahead of conferences like even the NFC South at times that's been somewhat competitive, or the AFC East that's on the rise. But the AFC West, obviously, if you're Aaron Rodgers going to the Broncos, you're going to have Patrick Mahomes to deal with the rest of your career. He's going nowhere. You're going to have Justin Herbert to deal with. He's going nowhere. And I think that the Chargers will only get better. I mean, this is a great learning tool for them. I think next year they'll come out stronger to where they'll be a playoff team. And the Raiders, they are absolutely a question mark to where I'm not sure how sustainable this 2021 season was. Like, are they going to be a perennial playoff team every single year? I would probably lean towards no. But again, if you hire Jim Harbaugh, who has had success in the NFL, it's a different question. So now you are looking at the AFC West as arguably the toughest division in football. But with that said, I still think it's worth it for Aaron Rodgers, where you have great receivers, whether it is Cortland Sutton, whether it's Tim Patrick, whether it's even, guys like KJ Hamler who have to stay healthy. But there's a lot of young, skilled talent on the Broncos. You have Noah Fant at tight end. You have Javonte Williams, a nice little rookie running back who had a solid year in year 1 in Denver. Obviously, you have a great defense. The secondary is a massive strength for you. The front four can really get after the quarterback. They have a lot there in Denver to where, again, you are one quarterback away from, I would say, being on par with the Chiefs. If you put Aaron Rodgers on the Broncos right now, I would say they are neck and neck. They're above the Chargers. They're above the Raiders. They are above the Bengals, above the Bills. I would put the Broncos neck and neck, 1 and 1A, with the Chiefs and the AFC next year if they were able to get Aaron Rodgers. So if you're Rodgers, sure, is it as likely for you to make the Super Bowl in Denver as it was in Green Bay? No, I would say the AFC is tougher and deeper than right now where the NFC is. But with that said, also, you have as good a chance as anyone in the AFC to make a run. But also, I think this is really important if you're the Broncos and if you're Aaron Rodgers. One of the things he has talked about, one of the things he has mentioned is the fact that he wants to play with Davante Adams. His future, Davante's future, will be a big impact, will have a big impact on the future of Aaron Rodgers, whether he goes or stays. He mentioned on Pat McAfee's show earlier this week, right? One of the decisions for him, whether he wants to stay in Green Bay and move on, is Davante Adams. He mentioned the franchise tag. Will Davante get a long-term deal? Right now, the Packers are in cap hell. They have the second worst cap space in all the NFL, behind only the Saints, or in front of only the Saints, I should say. So getting a long-term deal done with Davante Adams, who's going to be the highest paid receiver when it's all said and done, seems very unlikely if you're the Packers. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, you realize, okay, we're probably going to lose Davante Adams to free agency. Where could he go? Well, I know Denver has a lot of wide receivers, but you look at Denver and their cap space, Denver absolutely could and should sign Davante Adams. They have the 6th most cap space in all the NFL. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, not only can you go play for your offense coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, who he likes, and has said on the record that he likes to work with, you also have the ability to be a package and go to Denver with your favorite receiver. And now, after complaining about not having a reliable second or third option in Green Bay in the receiver room, you have now Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick as really good number 2s and number 3s if you're able to bring Davante Adams and have both of you go to Denver. So if you look at the Broncos, I love what they did. I love taking the chance. I love going all in on Aaron Rodgers again, because you have the team right now. You have the team. You have young players that are right now inexpensive, especially on the defensive end, where you can keep that and kind of try to build a 2015 team with a better quarterback. I love Peyton Manning. But 2015, Peyton Manning was a shell of himself. He was a statue back there, and the Broncos won the Super Bowl in spite of Peyton Manning. Well, now you can have a similar dominant defense in 2022, but with a quarterback that is still at the prime of his, game, coming off of back-to-back MVP awards. So I love the fact that the Broncos are going all in on Aaron Rodgers. I think this is the best case for them. Whether it's the draft, you look at the quarterbacks that are out there, not really one that's jumping out. There's not really a quarterback that you say that's going to be our franchise guy. So, okay, you're not going to probably draft a quarterback. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, look, Russell Wilson is a very attractive option, obviously. Maybe Nathaniel Hackett is someone that entices Russ enough to where he feel like he can have some say in the offense and there'll be a collaboration there. So maybe that also works hand in hand. If you don't get Rodgers, maybe Russell Wilson looks at the Broncos as an attractive job, maybe compared to if Dan Quinn was head coach. And outside of those two, Jimmy G, not really, enthralled. Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, there's not a lot of enticing options. So if you are the Broncos, you got to go all in on Rodgers, and I love them doing so. I think this Nathaniel Hackett hire is the right move. It's a smart move, and I think it's a move that absolutely can result in not only Aaron Rodgers coming to town, but Davante Adams. All right, if you're Davante too, wouldn't you want to play in an offense where, sure, Matt LaFleur is the one calling the plays, and obviously Matt LaFleur is a major impact on the offense, but Nathaniel Hackett's the offensive coordinator. Obviously, Davante Adams has been very, very successful on the field, results-wise, with yards, receptions, touchdowns in the Green Bay Packers offense led by Nathaniel Hackett. So you got to think, if you want to keep that going, if you're Rodgers, if you're Adams, well, the best way to kind of keep what they got going outside of Green Bay is to go to Denver. Kind of keep the band together, just do so in another location. It's like the band that's touring. You can have a great show, you can have a great set in New York, but hey, let's go out to Chicago and keep it going. Keep everything similar. I think that is what's going on with Denver right now. I think that's why hiring Nathaniel Hackett is absolutely the right move. It's not only giving Aaron Rodgers a reason to come out to Denver, it's also trying to lure Davante Adams, getting a package deal. If Rodgers wants to play with Davante, the Broncos have the 6th most cap space available. They're able to sign him. You'll have solid number 2 and number 3 wide receiver depth behind Davante Adams. And if you're Davante, you want to keep, obviously, your production going. Well, one of the best ways to do so is to play with your offensive coordinator that helped design the offense that you flourished in. And if you're Rodgers, you keep continuity by playing in a similar offense. And by the way, you get to play with, as you called him, the best player you have ever played with. Pretty high praise from Aaron Rodgers, who has played with some greats throughout his Packer career. So I love the Broncos going all in, kind of putting their chips on the table and saying, we want Nathaniel Hackett because we think that's going to lead us to Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. We're going to basically go big or go home. I love it from Denver. I love the risk. I love the gamble. 10 out of 10 hire, and them hiring former Packers OC Nathaniel Hackett. Now, this is the only head coaching hire that's basically been official, been reported. Now, there's another head coaching hire that's rumored to be close to happening, and that's Brian Daboll to the Dolphins. Pat Leonard, who covers not only the Giants, but the NFL for the New York Daily News. Obviously, the Giants hiring Joe Shane, the former Buffalo Bills exec, as their GM. There's a lot of speculation that Brian Daboll would be, interviewed and be a favorite for the New York Giants head coach opening. But yesterday, Pat Leonard did report that, according to his sources, Brian Daboll is the favorite to become a head coach, but not for the Giants, but to land with the Dolphins. And I think this would be a tremendous hire. 10 out of 10. I think this could be arguably one of the best hires of the cycle if the Dolphins are able to land Brian Daboll, because he is able, not only does he possess skills that the Dolphins need, he also fits the vision of Miami. Right? Why was Brian Flores fired? Well, Brian Flores was fired, one, because in part he had bad communication and was unable to get along with Chris Greer. Okay, it sounds a little childish to me. But another reason why he was fired was because he didn't have the same vision for Tua that Chris Greer, the GM, did, and Stephen Ross, the owner, did. They are committed to Tua. According to reports, at least, it's out there. Brian Flores was the big person, was the big voice that was pushing for a Deshaun Watson trade back during the season before the trade deadline. And it wasn't Chris Greer and it wasn't Stephen Ross. They were apprehensive. They still wanted to see what Tua has. So you had a head coach that was not on board the quarterback while the GM and the owner were. So now you think, okay, we got to bring in a guy that's on board with our quarterback. Well, there's no person that's more on board with Tua than Brian Daboll. Let's not forget, go back to 2017. Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. He coached Tua Tagovailoa. And an important piece of information to remember here is this. Brian Daboll was at Alabama for one season. They won a national title. That was the year, if you remember, where Jalen Hurts was a starter for most of the year. That at halftime of the national championship game against Georgia, Nick Saban pulled Jalen Hurts and put in Tua Tagovailoa. He led the comeback as he threw the game-winning pass in overtime to win the game, to win the national title. But Brian Daboll was at Alabama for just one season and then went to become the Bills offensive coordinator in Buffalo in 2018, in part because Brian Daboll was frustrated with Nick Saban. Why was he frustrated with Nick Saban? Because Brian Daboll wanted to play Tua Tagovailoa earlier than in the second half of the national title game. He wanted to pull Jalen Hurts earlier in the year, around November, when the offense was starting to struggle, and Nick Saban said, no, we're sticking with Jalen Hurts. So you have a guy in Brian Daboll who believes in Tua so much that during the middle of an undefeated season, wanted to pull Jalen Hurts in favor of freshman Tua Tagovailoa. So you go from a head coach in Brian Flores that didn't believe in Tua to a coach in Brian Daboll that believes so much in Tua that he left Alabama to take another job, in part because he was frustrated with how Nick Saban viewed Tua compared to how he viewed Tua. So you can now hire Brian Daboll, who's not only a believer in your current quarterback, a quarterback that you want to see succeed, he also has these skills to turn Tua Tagovailoa into a franchise guy. Look what Brian Daboll is able to do with Josh Allen in Buffalo. He developed him to the point where Josh Allen is, I would say at this point, in the elite category of quarterbacks. You know me, I'm very hesitant on heaping praise to Josh Allen. I'm very hesitant on jumping on the Josh Allen bandwagon. But you look at his progression from when he was taken as a rookie in 2018 to when he had a near MVP year in 2020, with Brian Daboll there all 3 years. You look at how Josh Allen was able to progress, where from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, his stats improved in every category, including completion percentage. It improved every single year. His passing yards increased every single year. So more responsibility. He, in part, took that responsibility in stride. His touchdown passes increased every single year. His interceptions hovered around the same. 12 interceptions his rookie year, 9 his second year, 10 his third year. So he's throwing the ball more. He's having a higher completion percentage. He's throwing more touchdown passes. But for the most part, the picks stay around the same. So his bad decision-making didn't increase with the amount of throws he was making. His passing attempts increased every single year. His passer rating increased every single year. So Josh Allen was able to make a big leap from year 1, where he was extremely inconsistent, extremely raw, coming out of Wyoming to where year two is able to lead the Bills to the playoffs. And by year 3, they made it to the conference championship game. And again, Josh Allen developed into an MVP quarterback. So he steadily increased from his rookie year to year 2 to year 3. That is what you want. That is the progress you want your offensive coordinator to make and have an impact on a young quarterback. I think he can do the same with Tua. You look at Tua so far and what he's had to deal with in Miami. Obviously, his rookie year, COVID year, it's tough to come in when you don't really have much training camp. You're coming off of an injury, an extremely serious injury with a hip, where he still wasn't fully healthy. By the time he was inserted into the lineup after 7 games or after 6 games, he clearly wasn't ready physically. He clearly wasn't ready mentally. He has now had 3 offensive coordinators in 2 years. They had the offensive coordinator, Chan Gailey, retire / get fired after 2020. And they had co-offensive coordinators this season. The one weakness, I would say, the one flaw of Brian Flores' coaching is that in his short time in Miami, he's been unable to find a good offensive coordinator that can develop the quarterback position. But now, if you're able to hire Daboll, if you're the Finns, you bring in a quarterback developer that has turned a project of Josh Allen into an MVP candidate that went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense just on Sunday night. So if you're the Dolphins and you watch that, sure, Tua does not have the same athletic ability, the same skill, the same arm strength, the same, mobility and playmaking ability that Josh Allen does. So it's not going to be an exact comparison. But Brian Daboll was able to get the most out of Josh Allen for what he had. I think he could do the same thing with Tua. So it makes total sense. It absolutely makes total sense to be a great hire for the Dolphins if you are able to bring in a developer of quarterback, a guy who already believes in the quarterback that you want to make successful. You want to make successful in Tua. And if you're the Dolphins, I think the biggest box you're trying to check in 2022 is figuring out what the hell Tua is. I don't even know what he is. I would say I'm more of a Tua believer than doubter. I do think he can have success in the NFL. But the thing though is, for the first 2 years, we don't really know. There's been a lot around him that's either been bad or inconsistent, to where at times he's shown flashes, but also at times he's thrown 3-yard passes at a time, and it really hasn't done much to elevate the offense. If you bring someone in that can develop Tua, 2022 I think is a big year to see, can we continue to work with this guy to where he can absolutely progress into a franchise quarterback? Or is he just not talented enough, doesn't have whatever we're looking for to be an elite guy, and we just got to cut bait and move on? That's what 2022 has to be about for the Dolphins. I think there's no better way to evaluate what Tua is, what he can become, than by bringing in Brian Daboll. So for me, this would be a tremendous hire. Pat Leonard is reporting that he is a favorite. Brian Daboll is to land the job in Miami. He absolutely should be the favorite. He absolutely should land the job. This should be the guy the Dolphins do hire, and I wouldn't wait any longer. I'd pull the trigger, hire him today. So I'm curious your thoughts here. The Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett. They are going all in on Aaron Rodgers. Is that a good move? Is that a good strategy? Basically put all your eggs in one basket? And if you're Aaron Rodgers, would you want to go to Denver? If you had the choice, if you were Rodgers, is Denver the number 1 location you are trying to go to? Or would you stay in Green Bay or try to go elsewhere? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. We'll get your tweets, we'll get your comments, and we'll also return here. Speaking of to stay or to go, the Nets have a decision. Should they trade James Harden? Woj is reporting that they absolutely will not. Is that the right move? Are the Nets being fooled by hanging on to James Harden, who will be a free agent this offseason, or is it the smart move? We will discuss that when we return this into the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show. Top of the hour. This NFL postseason has taught us collectively one thing. It's made quarterback evaluations easier than ever. I'll explain what I mean by in a few minutes. But speaking of evaluations, especially speaking of decision-making, basically whether to keep someone or let them go, right, and move on, the Nets have a decision to make. The Brooklyn Nets have a big-time decision to make with one of their big stars in James Harden. Yesterday, Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the Brooklyn Nets are not listening to any trade offers for James Harden. The NBA trade deadline is February 10th. They are not listening to any trade offers for Harden. They are not even thinking about trading one of their big 3 stars before the deadline. They're going to ride it out this season. Now, the reason why Woj even had to put out a report like that, in case you missed it, is because there's growing speculation. There are now more and more reports out there. The major one by Bleacher Report earlier this week, citing that James Harden is unhappy in Brooklyn. He is frustrated with the vaccine status of Kyrie Irving. He's frustrated that Kyrie's playing only half the games, which means more on the shoulders of James Harden. He's frustrated with the rotation Steve Nash is using, how they're kind of closing out games. And he reportedly is frustrated with living in Brooklyn. Doesn't like the climate. Doesn't like that it's cold. And he's really not going to like the climate this weekend when we, at least here in the New York City area, are supposed to get 20 inches possibly of snow coming. I'm sure he's going to hate that. And he also hates the taxes that New York State is imposing on his massive salary. So there is reports and there is frustration from James Harden about a lot of things going on and surrounding his time with the Nets. So there's at least speculation of, all right, well, you look at James Harden's contract. He is a free agent after this season. If you're the Nets, do you keep him through the trade deadline and run the risk of losing him for nothing this offseason? Or do you power through and you try to win a title and have it be worth it? Or do you trade him at the deadline, February 10th? You try to get as much back as you can. I don't know if it's Ben Simmons. I don't know if it's another star. And you try to at least recoup some value instead of risking going into free agency and having a star in James Harden walk away without getting anything back. So this Woj report is true that the Nets are keeping Harden. They're not listening to any deals at the trade deadline and will not even think about trading him. Is that the right move? Should they risk keeping James Harden through the trade deadline and risk leading a free agency, or should they try to cut their losses now, trade him, and get as much value back as possible because it's better than losing him for nothing? For me, I think the Nets are making the right move and not trading him. You absolutely cannot trade James Harden this season, and here's why. This trio, and now they have not been on the court a ton, but this trio when they're out there of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, it's too deadly to give up on now. You are too close to the ring to be able to punt on it now, right? The Nets, when they made the trade, when they basically sold their entire future to the Rockets last year to get James Harden to Brooklyn, they were going all in on these three players. They were going all in on the trio of Harden, KD, and Kyrie being the best trio in the NBA and leading to a championship. And I think they're right. The Nets are absolutely right. So you cannot panic now because year one didn't go as planned. And now year two, one of your stars is disgruntled because there's a lot of factors that really no one expected to pop up during the season that have now impacted how the Nets have played so far. But when you look at when these three have been on the court, when things have been going well, they're 13-3 together. They've only played 16 games in a little over a year playing basketball together. But in those 16 games, they're 13-3. So what does that show you? That shows you when these three are healthy and on the court together, there's no team in the NBA that can match up to them. I'm a big fan of what the Warriors are doing this year. I'm a big fan of what the Suns are doing this year. I think both teams can absolutely win a title. The Bucks have picked up where they left off from last year. The Bulls are having a great start to the season so far. The Sixers are being led by their MVP in Joel Embiid, who really is carrying them to the finish line so far. But if you look at what the Nets have when their big three is healthy on the court, there's no team in the NBA that's matching up with them. The Warriors not keeping up. The Suns not being able to match their potency. The Bucks not doing so. Like, let's remember, if even two out of the three stars were healthy last year for the Nets in the playoffs, they're getting by Milwaukee. They're beating the Hawks. And I think they're most likely beating the Suns. So this team, if you had either Kyrie healthy or James Harden fully healthy along with Kevin Durant, I do think are winning the finals, at least bare minimum getting to the finals last year. So I don't see a reason why you got to blow it up and panic now, because when healthy and when out there, these three players are by far the best trio in the NBA, and there's no team out there that I think can match up and slow them down. To their credit and to my wrongfulness, I guess we'll call it, they have blended together really well. Like for James Harden's frustration, his frustration is not with this playing style of Kevin Durant. It's not trying to share the ball with Kyrie Irving or not get enough credit. His frustration is basically, James Harden's, is that they're not playing together enough. He's frustrated that Kevin Durant's, injury history, and now especially with COVID and other things, have prevented them from getting on the court a ton. He's very frustrated with Kyrie Irving, the fact that he's only being able to be eligible in half the games because of vaccine status. He wants to play with these other players. It's not like he wants to get his own shine and go somewhere else. He's frustrated because he hasn't been able to play with the guys he came to play with. So I don't think it's a reason to blow things up. I don't think it's a reason to all of a sudden punt on this big trio when you have a chance, again, if healthy come playoff time, and whether the vaccine mandate changes, or if it doesn't and Kyrie's only available for road games, that is still a situation where I think the KD Harden duo is good enough to get by in home games. I think the trio on the road is going to be tough to where I don't think anyone's beating them. So even though they've played only 2 games together this season, I think it's worth the risk of carrying through this season with James Harden and risking losing him in free agency. Because you look at, okay, if you're on the side of James Harden should be traded, something is better than nothing for James Harden at the trade deadline compared to letting him possibly walk in free agency. Let me ask you this. What are you going to get back? What are you going to reasonably accept in a James Harden trade? You look at potentially buyers like Philly, right? Obviously, we know Philly's been enamored with James Harden. Daryl Morey is their GM who had Harden in Houston. There's apparently rumored, mutual interest that Harden would love to play with Embiid next year, and that he, if he's a free agent, Philly would be absolutely near or at the top of his list come free agency time. So if you're Philly, you got to think, forget the fact that we could just trade him. He's not going to be a rental because he's a free agent after the year. We can truly sign him and keep him here. Well, if you're the Nets, who are you going to get back? You're going to get back Ben Simmons? Well, the thing with Ben Simmons is, number one, his confidence is totally shot. So what kind of Ben Simmons are you going to get? Massive question. No one knows. He's, at least the last we know, is unvaccinated. So kind of like Kyrie Irving, he also would be unable to play in home games. So now you're taking away one of your one of your stars that can still play with Kevin Durant come playoff time, taking him off the court. So now at home games, it's going to be only Kevin Durant by himself, like it was last year in the postseason because of injuries, trying to carry this team at home. And then all of a sudden on the road, both Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving will be able to play. I don't think that makes any sense. And also, not to mention, guy's going to be rusty. He hasn't played at all this season. So if you trade for Ben Simmons in middle of February, you have no clue what kind of guy you're going to get. And he's going to be nowhere near the in-shape level, playing at the height of his game level that you need for him to be at to really make a run of the finals. So I think the Sixers for trading for Ben Simmons makes no sense. If you're trying to get Damian Lillard, right? Because there's a star that on the same level, okay, talent-wise, you think that trade would make sense. If you're the Blazers, you're not trading for 1 year James Harden. Again, James Harden being a free agent really does impact us because he doesn't have a lot of value. James Harden himself is a talented player, but because he only has 1 year left to go free agency, if you're a team like Portland, you really believe that you can sign James Harden to a long-term extension after trading for him? No. So you're not going to trade Damian Lillard, your franchise cornerstone piece, for a rental in James Harden. Not to mention, if you're the Nets, Damian Lillard is hurt. He had core surgery. So there's no even guarantee he could be back on the court this year. So you're not going to trade for a star in Damian Lillard who's hurt. Bradley Beal, I think the Wizards would absolutely say no to that deal, in part because, again, James Harden's a free agent, so you don't feel great about retaining his rights past the season. Russell Westbrook, the Nets are saying no to that. So you look at any possible trade with talented players that could be out there, none of it makes sense for either the teams trading for James Harden or the Nets themselves. So you're not going to trade James Harden and get, 30 cents back on the dollar. I think for the Nets, it's worth bringing him back, keeping him through the season, running, going to make a title run. And if not, risking him losing free agency, that's a better plan than trading him now and getting lesser pieces back. It only makes sense for me to keep James Harden. Not to mention, there is still, even though he's a free agent, there's still a good chance for the Nets to get something back in free agency if James Harden decides to go elsewhere. Because you look at the cap space this season available in the NBA, there's not a lot of teams with a lot of cap open. So James Harden's going to command a massive, massive contract. So there's not a lot of teams out there, especially contender-wise, that are able to, give James Harden the deal he wants. So most likely what's going to happen if James Harden decides to go elsewhere is that there's going to have to be a sign and trade between the Nets and someone else, whether it's Philly, whether it's Boston, whether it's Miami. You name the location, wherever James Harden wants to go play next year, wherever he decides to play, most likely it's going to be a sign and trade deal. So you're going to get something back if you're the Nets in the summer, most likely anyway. It's a risk. It's a gamble, yes, but most likely, more times than not, you're going to get something back. Whether it's Philly getting Ben Simmons back and seeing what the hell is going to happen, maybe get Tobias Harris in the trade as well. You are most likely going to get something back for James Harden. So you really don't have to risk or worry too much about being left empty-handed in the summertime if James Harden decides to leave. And even if you do, but you win a title, it's worth it. It's worth it. So there's no trade I think that makes sense for the Nets to make. There's no trade partner that I think would take a rental in James Harden. You're not going to do a trade for 30 cents on the dollar if you're the Nets. And I do think the best case scenario, the most likely option for you winning a title this season is holding on to James Harden. Hoping that Kevin Durant could stay healthy and stay on the court. Hoping either the New York City laws change or Kyrie Irving somehow, by some way, by some miracle, gets the vaccine and he's able to play in every postseason game. That is your best chance of winning a title. Because like I said, the three on the court together, Harden, Kyrie, and KD, there's no one beating them. If they could stay on the court together for the entire postseason, they are winning the title. That, to me, that risk is worth absolutely, or that reward, I should say, is worth the risk of letting James Harden walk in free agency without getting anything back for him. So the Nets are absolutely doing the right thing here and not listening to any trade offers, not entertaining any trades, because, again, you're not going to get much value back. There's not many teams that are going to be interested in James Harden being a rental for half a season. So you're not going to get anything back of note, of consequence, of substance that would make a trade worth it. Hold on to Harden. They already get along great with Kyrie and KD. Hope KD is healthy. Hope Kyrie gets a shot. And really hope that this is a trio that's on the court more than not in the postseason. Because for me, that's going to lead to the playoffs or lead to a championship. So I'm curious your thoughts here. James Harden, unhappy in Brooklyn. Has not asked for a trade, but is a free agent at the end of the year. Has indicated he's going to test free agency. And again, according to reports, he's very enamored of Philly. He really wants to play with Joel Embiid. His former GM and Daryl Morey is obviously in Philly. So it's more likely than not, I think he leaves the Nets in free agency. So you run the risk, if you're the Nets, of losing a star player for absolutely nothing. Does it make sense for the Nets to cut their losses now and trade him at the trade deadline? Or should they run the risk, hold on to Harden, and have a KD, Harden, Kyrie trio try to win a title this year? What should the Nets do? Love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Speaking of making decisions, the Nets, like we just mentioned, have a big decision to make, but also too do GMs around the NFL. Watching this postseason, I do think made quarterback evaluations for every team easier. I'll explain why that is when you're turning this into the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, What are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
Stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show. As always, the 10 o'clock hour is sponsored by LC Designs. Charcuterie boards are perfect for all occasions, so make sure your guests are happily fed with some delicious and aesthetically pleasing charcuterie boards made by Lauren Clark. So check her out online, lcdesignsnyc.com. Also, LC Designs NYC is her Instagram page where you can check out all of her great work there as well. So make sure you check it out and find out more information there, whether it's online or whether it is on the gram, as the cool kids are saying these days. Hickey's Pickies, 30 minutes from now. I am very excited for our, we'll say, final guest, because I do think we will bring the regular season champion Preston Rooksbury Carmines back for some Super Bowl picks to have him do a little victory lap, if you will. But this is a Hickey's Pickies first. Someone who is scared to come on the show. We will discuss why that is and see how his nerves are in a half hour from now. My guy, H. He only goes by H. Like Madonna only goes by a first name. Cher only goes by the first name. This man only goes by one letter, H. It'll be a lot of fun half hour from now. But I do want to talk about one of my biggest takeaways from the NFL postseason, especially, unfortunately, not having a dog in the fight being a Colts fan. But I do think watching these NFL playoffs, it has made quarterback evaluation easier. Right? We have watched some elite quarterback play from Patrick Mahomes to Josh Allen to Matthew Stafford to Joe Burrow. We have seen all of these guys play at a highly elite level and either lead their team or nearly lead their team to continue to playing this weekend. I think one of the big takeaways is if you don't have an elite quarterback, you really don't have a chance in the postseason. Ask the Titans, ask even the Cowboys about that. But the reason why I'm saying quarterback evaluation has never become easier is because now when you watch these guys play, like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, when you watch them play, the bar, especially in the postseason, has been raised so high that it's easier than ever now to realize when you don't have something special. It's easy to realize when you don't have a guy that can reach the potential that these guys are on. Like Joe Burrow to me is the perfect example and the latest example. He took over a Cincinnati Bengals team that was hapless. They were directionless. They were 2-14. They were a laughingstock because we know they've had years and years and years, decades of postseason failures. Joe Burrow was able to come in, take a 2-14 team, and in 2 years, take them to the AFC title game. Not only his play, but his leadership. That culture in Cincinnati has truly changed. You could hear it and see it after their win in Tennessee. They said, forget the underdog. We're a really good team. We expect to be here. You should start respecting us. They dropped the why not us moniker because it was too much of a loser mentality. That starts with the quarterback in Joe Burrow. So when you have one of those guys, it's obviously a franchise changer. But if you don't, it also kind of shows you, well, you got to start looking around until you can get one. Like I do think it takes 2 to 3 years to kind of realize, all right, our quarterback is either can be one of the guys or he is not the guy. Right? I would say 2 to 3 years to kind of see what the ceiling is on a quarterback. Can he truly reach at some point an elite level? It doesn't have to be right away. I'm not saying everyone has to be Joe Burrow and literally, heroically, I can't even say it. Heroically, I guess, easier to say. Carry a franchise from the depths of the bottom to all the way to the top in a quick amount of time. But I do think, even if it's not on a consistent basis, if you were just able to see flashes and shades of a quarterback that could truly be at an elite level, that can reach and keep up with it one day on Mahomes and Allen and Stafford, that's a guy I think we find out in 2-3 years. Say, okay, that's our guy. If not, I think it's time for you to move on. Because when you look around the NFL, I would say there's 9 teams that feel great about their quarterback, that feel great about going into the postseason. Yeah, we got ourselves a chance. We can absolutely win a Super Bowl. Josh Allen and the Bills, you got to feel great, obviously. Burrow and the Bengals. I'm going to put the Texans out here, but it's really because of Deshaun Watson. Whatever team ends up with Deshaun Watson is going to feel that great, assuming, again, legally he's allowed to play next season. But whoever lands Deshaun Watson is absolutely on the list. But for right now, we'll put the Texans there, even though he's never playing for them again. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, obviously. Justin Herbert and the Chargers, I think, showed you a lot. And Herbert, especially in that final game against the Raiders, showed you he absolutely can raise his level of play when he needs to. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, assuming he's back in 2022. Matthew Stafford and the Rams have joined that list. And Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, which, again, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson right now, I included with their current teams. But obviously, those 3, I think, most likely will be moved at some point this season. So they will be on new teams. But those are the 9 teams / quarterbacks you feel great about. You feel, okay, no matter who we're playing, no matter what the defense is, no matter, the quarterback we're playing, we got ourselves a chance. We got ourselves a real one. I think there's 5 teams that are in quarterback purgatory right now. You're not 100% sure. Can this guy be the guy? He's shown flashes at times, but consistency, can he really rise up? Lamar Jackson, Ravens. He obviously has won an MVP, helped the Ravens get to 14-2. Now, also, on the other hand, Lamar Jackson has struggled in the postseason so far in his 3 years. Obviously, this year was the only year, but health-wise struggled to get on the field. I mean, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are in a tight position right now where you don't really know truly can Lamar consistently be on the same level as the quarterbacks we just listed. So you still got to figure it out. I would not, if I was the Ravens, give Lamar Jackson a contract extension this year. I want to see how he plays next year. But the Ravens, I would say right now in purgatory with Lamar. The Browns are absolutely in purgatory with Baker Mayfield. I'm a Baker believer. Obviously, 2021 was not a year a good year for us Baker believers, but kind of similar to Mar. I want to see what he can do in 2022, kind of as a last chance for the Browns to see, is it time for the Browns to move on, or do they truly feel they have a guy that they can win with and compete with in a very competitive and an AFC filled with young quarterbacks that are on the rise? The Dolphins with Tua, like I kind of mentioned before when they're hiring Brian Daboll, I have no clue what Tua is. I'm more of a Tua believer than doubter, but we really haven't seen a lot from Tua to really know, I would say, one way or another. I really hope they do hire Brian Daboll because I think that's the guy that will be able to get the most out of Tua. And 2022, we'll truly be able to find out. Can Tua raise his game to the next level where he can keep up with the Chiefs, with the Bengals, with the Bills? Or is it time for the Dolphins to scrap their plans and move on? This is going to be a big year for the Dolphins. The Cowboys and Dak Prescott are absolutely in this category. Now, they paid Dak. So this is not, we're talking about quarterback purgatory in terms of, do you pay your quarterback or not? The Cowboys already did that. But I'm talking about quarterback purgatory in terms of, do you truly feel you have an elite quarterback? Do you truly feel like going to the playoffs, you have the guy that can lead you? For the Cowboys, I would say right now, no. Dak has showed you year and year and year in, year out, he can't be trusted in the playoffs. Even this year, with everything that has gone Dallas's way, even with the way he started this 2021 season, coming off the ankle injury, playing at an extremely elite level, his play in the second half of the year really regressed, and it didn't change in the postseason. He was just in the playoffs. Just like he was in the postseason in 2018, like he was in 2016. He's not played very well come playoff time. So if you're the Cowboys, yes, you invested in Dak Prescott, absolutely. But when you look around the rest of the team, where the offensive line is intact, the running game is already paid for. You have great receivers. You have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, a great 1-2 punch. You have defense that is full of playmakers. Like for Dallas, there's not many excuses left. I think outside of Mike McCarthy, there's nothing really Dallas can do to get the most out of this team. So if they continue to fall short, if they continue to struggle come playoff time, if you're Jerry Jones, you got to start thinking, is Dak the guy? Is Dak the guy where I can truly, truly feel going into a season, going into a playoff game, that I can trust him to lead this team to a Super Bowl? I would say the Cowboys don't know that answer right now. He hasn't shown it to you. And the final team I think is quarterback purgatory is the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. I like Kyler Murray. I think he can be a really talented quarterback. We see his ceiling is absolutely MVP level. He has the talent to keep up with Allen, with Burrow, with Mahomes, with Stafford, with Russ, with Brady. He has the talent to absolutely be on that elite level. The question is health and consistency. The last 2 years, we have not seen Kyler Murray stay fully healthy throughout the year, and we have not seen him play great football down the stretch. The Cardinals really, went into a nosedive late in the season. I think a lot of that's on Cliff Kingsbury, but also Kyler Murray is not shy of blaming that playoff game he absolutely melted down in. Now it's his first playoff game. Maybe the pressure got to him. Maybe that experience now will help him going forward. But I think if you're the Cardinals, you can't feel 100% confident, committed that Kyler can be the guy, again, to match up with some of these quarterbacks. You see, obviously, we saw the insane Bills-Chiefs game where you need your quarterback to make a play. We have seen leadership from Joe Burrow, where even though he's having a bad game, in the moment, in crunch time, he is able to make the big-time throw to win a game, similar to what Matthew Stafford did with the Rams as well. I think these five teams, the Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, Baker Mayfield, the Browns, Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, you have hopes and you have seen glimpses at times to where they have shown you, yeah, they absolutely can be on that level, but you haven't seen it consistently enough, and you haven't really truly, you don't really right now feel confident that your guy can be the guy for the next decade. So now, if you are any of these other teams, the other basically 16 or 18 teams, right? Because I gave you 9 teams I think feel great about your quarterback, 5 teams that are in purgatory. So that's 14 teams. The other 18 teams in the NFL, you got to be looking for an upgrade. This postseason should tell you, no matter who your quarterback is, it's not good enough. You got to be turning over every leaf in terms of trades, in terms of free agency, in terms of the draft. There's no point in holding on to something that's either not elite or not consistent, right? If you are the Titans and Ryan Tannehill showed you now multiple postseasons, he is not the guy to elevate the team. He needs Derrick Henry to be playing at an MVP level for the Titans to have a chance to win playoff games. And if not, you aren't winning. Again, The last 3 playoff games the Titans have lost, Ryan Tannehill has been asked to lead them. Derrick Henry's been held under 100 yards in each game, and Ryan Tannehill has fell flat on his face. Saturday being the latest example. So if you're the Titans, you may not have a choice this year, but if you can upgrade, there's no reason why you shouldn't. The Vikings and Kirk Cousins, enough. We know what Kirk Cousins is. He's not a primetime player. There's no reason. I don't care what his stats are. I don't care. You can point to the regular season efficiency. I don't care. We know what Kirk Cousins is. He is someone who cannot be relied upon in the big moment. Move on if you're Minnesota. I get it's easier said than done. If you can't do it this year, I'm not saying just, do whatever you got to do. But know in the back of your mind, Kirk is absolutely not the answer. The Colts and Carson Wentz have to realize Carson Wentz absolutely cannot be trusted. And absolutely, when you watch especially in the AFC, we watch the level of quarterback play that's going to be around now for the next decade. You can't trust Carson Wentz can consistently be on that level. So you got to move on. Like for me, I will say this. This was definitely an eye-opening experience this postseason because for a long time, I was a believer that if you build a good enough team, that can carry a good quarterback, let's say, to the playoffs, to a Super Bowl. I was a true team building kind of guy where I thought if you had a really good defense, had a solid run game, great receivers, that could be enough to carry a team to a Super Bowl, even if you have just not an elite quarterback. You have just an okay to good quarterback. But each passing year, I will admit, that philosophy is starting to look more and more foolish. Again, the perfect example is the team I root for. I like the way the Colts have built themselves. They have a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. They have a really good offensive line. They have a defense that forces turnovers and flies around. I thought, okay, you know what? You just get a good to pretty good quarterback that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. The team around him can elevate the quarterback to a level that is going to be acceptable in the playoffs. That's why I was excited about Carson Wentz. It wasn't even a Carson Wentz per se as much as it was, okay, he's shown talent in the past. The team is really good around him. I think now that will lead him to flourish. And I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Ryan Tannehill is the same kind of quarterback. So you see, in the big-time moments, especially in the playoffs, that is why quarterbacks make $40, $45 million a year because their presence is felt the most in the playoffs. And if you don't have that guy, there's no sense in holding on to someone that you hope can be the guy or no sense in holding on to someone because you feel like there's no other upgrade. I'm not saying it's easy to find your franchise guy because obviously if it was, all 32 teams would have a franchise quarterback they believe in. Again, I gave you only 9 that feel great. A fourth of the league, basically, that feel great about their guy. The rest, the 75% of the NFL is still searching. So I'm not saying just to take away, take a flyer on any quarterback in the draft and take a chance, basically. No, that's how you make your team worse, not better, by just guessing and hoping. Hoping is not a strategy. But what I am saying is when you have the opportunity to go all in to maybe trade for Aaron Rodgers, to trade for Russell Wilson, to trade up to get a quarterback you identify that could be a great one in the draft, there's no reason in waiting. There's no reason for holding out hope that the guy you have could be the one. Don't be afraid to move on. Look what some teams did that are in great positions right now. The 49ers. Now, Jimmy G takes a little bit of an outlier because I think he has played clutch football when it matters, but as we know, he's kind of up and down through the middle portion of the game. But even the 49ers themselves said, Jimmy G can only take us so far. We're going to move on. And they trade up to get Trey Lance. They identify the quarterback they think can go toe-to-toe with some of the greats in the NFL, and they already made a move to get Trey Lance even while Jimmy G is there. The Chiefs did the same thing. They had Alex Smith. He can get you to the playoffs, but once the playoffs come, is Alex Smith the guy that's going to win you playoff games? No. Chiefs identified that. Andy Reid identified that. And guess what they did? They said, Patrick Mahomes is the guy we love. We think he can be the one to take the most out of this offense. We're going to go get him. The Bills. I actually forgot this, but I looked it up. The Bills in 2017 gave Tyrod Taylor a 6-year, $92 million contract extension. They made the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor in 2017. And you know what the Bills did? 2 months after the playoff game was over, they realized Tyrod Taylor is not a guy that's going to elevate us in the postseason. He's not a guy. He's not a quarterback we can rely on to win us games. We got to get someone else. And who do they identify? Josh Allen to be the guy. So the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Bills all had decent quarterbacks, all had playoff caliber quarterbacks. And all three said, you know what? They're good enough to get us to the postseason. They're not good enough. They're not good enough to win us a Super Bowl. We're making a move. And obviously, the jury's out on Trey Lance. We don't know what he's going to be. But I don't think the Chiefs are regretting moving on from Alex Smith for Patrick Mahomes. I don't think the Bills are regretting moving on from Tyrod Taylor and taking a risk on Josh Allen. Finding an upper echelon quarterback is the only way teams have a prayer in the playoffs. That's why, for me, quarterback evaluations have never been easier. Because now you can identify quickly, can this guy be an elite quarterback? Well, if you don't see flashes, the answer is going to be no. And if he does, can he do it consistently? You have a few years to find it out. But now you see the barometer, especially if you're a GM in the AFC. When you have all these young, talented quarterbacks coming up, it's easier than ever now because if you realize you don't have the guy, all right, you move on. There's less holding out hope. There's less hoping and praying he could be the guy because he will quickly show you whether he is or not. That's my spiel. That is absolutely my spiel. It's going to be easier said than done for sure. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely now, I think, for GMs, their job has been easier because it's easier to say that's the guy or he's not the guy, and you can move on and start thinking about trying to find the next guy that can be eventually your franchise guy to lead you to a Super Bowl. Speaking of leading to a Super Bowl, what should the Saints do? Obviously, as we know, Sean Payton retired earlier this week. He is, I shouldn't say retired. He's stepping aside. He is probably going to go back to coaching at some point, but it's not going to be the Saints. He is stepping aside for the 2022 season. What should the Saints do now? I have an answer for the direction of New Orleans. I'll give it to you when we return here. Listen to the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. I want to pivot here just for a second. We'll get to the Saints maybe at the end of the show, but I do want to at least comment on the career of Ben Roethlisberger, because it is official today. He put out a tweet that he is calling it a career. He's officially retiring. Not that that's any surprise, right? We all assumed he's retiring. He kind of hinted at it before the last playoff game, and we all kind of assumed coming into this year anyway, this is going to be it, kind of seeing his play kind of fall off a cliff. But I do want to at least give him credit and a shout out, because I do think Ben Roethlisberger throughout his entire career has always been underrated. And here's what I mean by that. It's for someone, when we look at, being drafted in 2004, and getting to 3 Super Bowls, winning 2 Super Bowls, having, tons of great passing stats, passing touchdowns, obviously, having a very successful and consistent career in Pittsburgh. I do think it's fair to say Ben Roethlisberger throughout his entire career is underrated. Here's what I mean by that. When we talk about all-time greats, all-time legends, especially in this generation, I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is in the conversation enough. Like, if you look at, let's say, let's go from Peyton Manning on, right? So like late 90s through where we are in 2021. You look at some of the best quarterbacks of this generation. Not only is Ben Roethlisberger in there, there's not many quarterbacks I would take over Big Ben. Obviously, Tom Brady. I would take Peyton Manning. I would take Aaron Rodgers. I mean, other than that, I think Ben Roethlisberger is right there. I would say he's number 4. Take him over Russell Wilson. I would take him over Drew Brees. Like, there are a lot of accomplished quarterbacks that have more records that I think get more national pub, more love for MVP, more love for their individual accomplishments. But when it comes to a career as a whole, I would absolutely take Ben Roethlisberger over Drew Brees. I would take Ben Roethlisberger over Russell Wilson. I think he's been more clutch. I think he's done it for obviously a longer time. He's been more consistent. And this is a guy who has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. Sure, the first Super Bowl they got there was kind of, in spite of him, and he was just along for the ride. But that 2007 Super Bowl against the Cardinals, they're not winning, or 2008, I believe it is. No, 2007. 2008. The years all get mixed by. I apologize. They're not winning that Super Bowl if it's not for him. Again, we know the throw to Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone. That was a tremendous, tremendous throw. But he has been able to consistently, year in and year out, put up big-time numbers, do so for a winning franchise, and always deliver playoff appearances for the Steelers. And he's dealt with some knuckleheads. I mean, we see Antonio Brown melting down in front of our eyes. He dealt with Antonio Brown for a long time. He dealt with Le'Veon Bell for a very long time. But he has been one of the tried and true consistent figures in the NFL. And I do think he doesn't get enough respect in that case, in that situation. Where, again, we always talk about Brady, we always talk about Manning, Aaron Rodgers, an all-time great. I think we talk about Drew Brees more. I think we talk about Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson more. He doesn't get, I believe, even Philip Rivers. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger gets the respect he absolutely deserves when it comes to quarterbacks of our generation being right there. We know he's consistent. We know he's great. But I just at least want to give a shout out on the day that Ben Roethlisberger decides to officially retire, officially hang it up. I'm glad that he's not holding out hope. I'm glad he's not going to go to another team for one more season and hang on for dear life. His play was over. His best days are behind him. He's getting out. Well, he doesn't get too ugly, kind of like Peyton Manning his final year, even though he won a Super Bowl. Again, it was ugly watching Peyton throw the ball his last year. Glad he's getting out while he still is able to stay on top. So shout out to you, Big Ben. Congrats on a tremendously successful and consistent career. And congrats on what I think being one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of the NFL. So we do return here. I am very excited. Like I mentioned before, it is Hickey's Pickies Conference Championship Weekend edition of Hickey's Pickies. And we'll do so with a man that was a little nervous to come on the show. So we'll ask about his nerves. We'll ask where his picks are, his confidence is. And we'll do that when we return. It's the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show right here on a Thursday morning, the Thursday of Conference Championship Weekend. So it's a lighter edition of Hickey's Pickers with obviously only 2 games to go into. But I am very excited for our guest here. This is a Hickey's Pickies first. Usually, a lot of confidence from the guests. Usually, a lot of 5-0 declarations and excitement. But a show first. A man who was very nervous about coming on. I thought at one point the phone was ringing a little too long. I thought he was going to duck, but he did end up coming through. We call him Harrison, or I should say his name is Harrison. We call him H for short. He's like Madonna and Cherry's on forget a first name basis, a first letter basis. And thankfully, he has sucked up the nerves and has come on Hickey's Pickies. H, how we doing, man?
What's up, Hick? I'm doing good. You know, got a coffee in me. The brain's firing on all cylinders. I'm ready to go.
So let me ask you this, H. There was a lot of apprehension on your end from coming on. You said you didn't want to come on. You're too nervous. What's with the nerves? I feel like we're a welcoming atmosphere and environment here on the Ryan Hickey Show, but obviously you are too intimidated. Where are the nerves coming from, man?
I mean, nerves are just sometimes when I talk sports, you know, I get the names wrong. I'm saying, you know, all these crazy things, and everyone's like, they're not even on the team. You know, I'm all over the place a lot of times. So, but I'm here. I'm calm. I'm ready to go.
I don't know if this will help or hurt the nerves, H, but Lauren has actually been on the show twice now. She's come on last year. She's come on this year. Now, this year, the picks weren't great. Last year, she didn't know half the teams involved, and she went 5-0. So
okay, well, that's a hard bar to hit, though.
That is. And, you know, we're not saying you got to go 2-0 or, you know, you're going to be an embarrassment. Trust me, H, my picks have sucked this year. But there was a show, you know, no offense to Lauren, she's not exactly the most sportsy girl in the world. To be honest, she didn't know half the teams existed. She never heard of the Cincinnati Bengals before last year, and she went 5-0. So, if anything, that should kind of ease your worries a little bit and make you more confident than, let's say, more nervous.
I don't know, Hick, because, like, you know, like March Madness when, you know, the people are just picking the mascots and they, like, get, like, 75% of the games, right?
Right.
And I'm picking, you know, seeds, and I'm like, oh, I saw North Carolina play them, like, you know, 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden I'm, like, 20%, right? You know, sometimes you just got to be loosey-goosey, and I kind of, you know, maybe I'll just go that. Maybe can you put, like, anonymous names on the teams, and I'll do that?
We could do that. One of our other friends, Rob, just picked some of the games based on who would win, like in an animal fight. Like, for example, I think we, let's just say it was like Georgia Bulldogs going against, like, I don't know, like the Musketeers. He goes, well, a Bulldog would win, so we'll go with the Bulldogs. So he did like mascot, like in nature versus nurture, and he turned out all right.
I would do that.
But what you're saying, H, I like this philosophy from you. You're saying you're worried about being too smart. Like, you're worried about knowing too much that you think it's going to hurt you, not help you.
Yeah, just over calculating, you know, over adjusting, and then all of a sudden, you know, other crazy things happen. But yeah, I'm definitely worried about being too smart.
You know, H, that's when you know you're a smart guy, a Columbia-educated man, where you're worried about being too smart than too dumb. The last thing I'll say that I don't know will help or hurt you either way, I'll say is last week was the only week we had a guest picker go 4-0, go undefeated. Now, again, a little bit less games. We usually do 5. There's only 4 last week. But my guy, Mike Pooling, went 4-0, the only undefeated run this year. Now, you're following that up. Could be a lot of pressure. You feeling better about maybe going, you know, following it, the only undefeated streak, or worse?
I feel better.
Okay.
I got 2 games. That's it. So I have better odds, and I feel like you kind of got lucky though last week with the Chiefs. You know, I mean, they really shouldn't have won that game. So
wow. Okay, I like take it. Let's go, H. This is why I'm glad you're on, because you are doing things that no one's ever done before. Everyone is usually coming overconfident and feeling great. You are the exact opposite. You're feeling very nervous and almost ducked the show. Now you're
I'm a mess.
You're calling out other pickers for getting lucky, man. They don't know what they're talking about. What luck? H, this is already a home run, man. You're killing it. Who else you want to trash?
Wait, what?
So who else you want to trash? You're calling out, people for getting lucky last week. Oh, they shouldn't have won that game. The Chiefs shouldn't have won. So I love it. You're trashing other pickers of the show. So let's keep it going. H, who else you want to call out?
No one else.
Okay.
No more trashing. I guess Lord probably got lucky too, but I don't even want to get into that.
Well, she, trust me, she absolutely got lucky. Don't let her tell you any different. All right. So H, we will get into the picks before the nerves kind of come over and cripple you. We'll go AFC title game, Bengals and Chiefs. The team that was lucky in your mind to even be here, the Chiefs, are hosting the Bengals, and the Chiefs are 7-point favorites. Will the luck continue, or is Joe Burrow going to dominate, go in there, and break the hearts of Chiefs fans?
Yeah, and it's at Arrowhead.
At Arrowhead, it's gonna be very loud.
Yeah, I'm going Joe Burrow.
Nice.
Going Joe Burrow. I just feel like the Chiefs defense couldn't even defend Davis on the Bills last week, and they got our boy Jamar Chase. I don't see, unless Tyrann Mathieu's back, them having a shot. I don't know what his injury, because he got hurt in that last game. Yeah, I think we got Bengals. I think Jamar Chase is going to crush it. I think Bengals won last time they played. I don't know. I don't understand why they're so the underdog. Is it just a home field kind of thing?
Home field. Maybe the Chiefs offense is looking great. Obviously, maybe the O-line. The people are concerned about the Bengals O-line because Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times last week. So hopefully the guy can make it out of Arrowhead Stadium alive this time. Look at you, H, by the way. You sandbagger. Oh, I'm nervous. I don't want to get anything wrong. You're shouting out Gabe Davis. You're shouting out Tyrann Mathieu. H, you know what you're doing. You are. I love the philosophy. You are trying to sell low, underperform or undersell and overachieve.
That's my life, Nick. That's how you gotta do it. If you come right above you gotta be above the curve. And if you set the curve, oh my God, you're always gonna be above it, right?
Great life advice. You never want to oversell and underdeliver. You always want to undersell and overdeliver. Folks, this is where we give life advice here on Hickey Pickers. Forget just the picks. Life advice, H, with great advice to live by. I love it, man. This is why we bring smart guys like you on. I will say, though, I'm going to go the Chiefs. I love Joe Burrow. I love the Bengals. With that said, I think the Chiefs offense is just too potent right now. I am worried about the Bengals O-line. If you're getting under siege the entire game, even Joe Burrow, how great he is, you can only do so much before, you have Chiefs defenders in your face every single play. Like you said, the Chiefs defense was awful, awful, awful last week. With that said, I do think that they'll be a little bit better, enough to where the Chiefs offense will continue to score a lot of points. I don't think that the Bengals defense is very good. They're not going against Ryan Tannehill. That's for damn sure. And the first time they played, like you mentioned a few weeks ago, Jamar Chase is unstoppable. 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm going to go on a limb here, H. I don't think that's going to happen again. I don't think the Chiefs are dumb enough to let Jamar Chase go off again. So I will put my faith in the Chiefs defense getting, let's say, one more stop than the Bengals. I will say the Chiefs win and win by more than a touchdown at home. So I will go KC. You, as a smart man, are going the Bengals. The other game, H, 49ers and Rams. The 49ers have won 6 games in a row over the Rams. Kyle Shanahan has dominated Sean McVay. This game will be in LA in SoFi Stadium, but not many Rams fans. It looks like it'll be a home game for the 49ers. Again, a lot of red in the stands. The 49ers are 3.5-point underdogs. Where are we going, H?
Yeah, here I'm going Rams, just because I feel like in that last game, Tom Brady couldn't even do anything because the defense just kept getting to him. So I think that Aaron Donald and who's the other one?
Von Miller?
Yeah, Von Miller. I think they're just gonna keep just grinding Jimmy down, and
grinding him down.
Yeah, he starts throwing those off throws that are going nowhere just because he's getting half hit. I think that's gonna be happening a lot. So I think the Rams are gonna crush him here.
Crush him. Let's go, H. I am in agreement with you. I think the Rams are going to win because you know why? Matthew Stafford ain't no Aaron Rodgers. Matthew Stafford is coming to play, H. He's not laying an egg at home like Aaron Rodgers did last week. He's not going to be, going 3 and out. The Rams, I was a believer in the Rams for a while. I was a big believer in Matthew Stafford. A lot of doubters out there. And last week, with the game crumbling, where I thought they were for sure about to give the game away and have Tom Brady have another epic comeback, Matthew Stafford said, not on my watch. Throws that incredible pass Cooper Kupp to eventually win the game. I think that confidence that Matthew Stafford had last game carries over. There's a new swagger out the Rams. They can believe in their quarterback, and 6 games in a row will end on Sunday. The Rams, with the victory, will become the second straight team to host a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Rams win and cover the 3.5 points. We're both on the Rams there. H, you're on the Bengals +7. I'm on the Chiefs -7. All right, H, that's it. It's painless. How are we feeling? Are you glad you came on? You glad you powered through?
Yeah, I'm glad I came on. I wish I knew my heart rate right now, though.
You're sweating. You don't have to go to the gym today, which is probably good. You got your exercise right there in the last 10 minutes.
No Peloton.
Wow. There you go. The Hickey's Pickies experience creates more adrenaline and works you out more than a Peloton exercise. Not bad. Maybe I'll use that as my next pitch for some people to come on. H, thanks for coming on, man. I will see you on the slopes next week. Hopefully, you won't be eating too much of my snow, and we'll have a blast, man.
All right, see you, Hick. Thanks. Go Lions.
We thank the great Harrison Dittmeyer. We just call him H. Cher is Cher. Madonna is Madonna. H is H. We appreciate him coming on. We appreciate him braving the nerves to come on and give 2 great picks here on the show. So that'll do it for this edition of Hickey's Pickies. Like I said, I'm going the Rams here at home to win. I do think the 6 games in a row was interesting for the 49ers over the Rams. I do think there's some aspect there, but again, I do think the confidence that the Rams have coming off of a game where, frankly, I think they lose if Jared Goff's quarterback. They lose if almost any other quarterback is under center for the Rams. Matthew Stafford did come up clutch and was able to lead LA to victory. I think that confidence will carry over into this week, and they will beat the 49ers. And the Chiefs offense, look, I love Joe Burrow. I've been rooting for him a lot. The Bengals kind of been the team I've been rooting for the most, we'll say, in the postseason from the AFC. But with that said, I do think that first matchup, even though the Bengals won, does favor the Chiefs more now in the second matchup, because I think now they realize, all right, we know how to defend Joe Burrow. We know what basically not to do, allow Jamar Chase to play one-on-one all game long. I think that will benefit the Chiefs more than it does actually the Bengals. And I do think at home, KC will just outscore the Bengals enough to where they will win by more than 7. So I think the Chiefs -7, Rams -3.5, both home favorites. But I think that's going to be the Super Bowl matchup we see and we break down on Monday morning. So again, thanks so much for tuning in on this Thursday. We appreciate you making us a part of your very busy Thursday morning. Have a great weekend. If you are here in the Northeast, hopefully the snow doesn't impact us too much, but hopefully digging out of wherever you are isn't too stressful. But stay safe, stay sane, enjoy both playoff games this weekend, and we will be back on Monday to break it all down right here. But where else? The Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.